Okay, so let's start with the pieces that we're going to need. Before I start the project part, the component, I try to put the images that we're going to need up front so you can see, but you'll be able to tell what we're going to use just by watching the video. So you're going to select the pieces that I have laid out here in front. I was really good at the beginning. When it gets toward the end, I'm going to have to pop in and be like, oh, you remember that round piece? But anyway, it's pretty self-explanatory if I don't say a word. So, this was easy to put together. You just need to follow the directions. So I'm a visual learner, so hopefully this guys will help you out. So you want to grab these pieces, cut them in whatever color cardstock you wanted to cut them in. So if you want yours like mine, then you want to cut the pieces as you see them with whatever colors that you choose. So you just want to watch what I'm doing. I'm folding over all the perforated edges on one side so that I can fold that. That's going to curve around that little piece with a window. I'm not doing that bottom part. Those teeth are going to fit into something else, so I'm not going to bend them because it makes it harder for the teeth to fit into the grooves when you do that. So we're just going to fold over the part where on the side where the window attachment is, and we're going to curve that around. I'm using some wet glue. It's art glitter glue, and I'm also using tiny bottles. I get both of those from Amazon. That is always linked below in the description box. I'm using several forms of adhesive in this project: ATG, double-sided tape, wet glue, hot glue. So for this one I use the wet glue, and just make sure you flip over whenever using wet glue and varnish it with your bone folder, or in this case I'm using a pick tool. So for this piece you want to add some wet glue. I wouldn't suggest using hot glue for this, so it'll be all lumpy, and you want to close that together. And I'm going to show you here in a second the direction on which you want to put this inside, because if not you'll create your hood with a little lump, and we don't want a lumpy hood. So look at the direction that I'm pointing. These pieces do not have a double piece. It's just a single little loop that's hanging out there. All the rest of them have double. So if you look at the angle of the paper that's kind of going at a ramp, going upwards toward the right side, that single piece goes at the top of that curve right there. So if you put it in the way that I put it in, it will work fine. Otherwise, you're going to have to keep dinking around with this and until you get it. But basically, the single, see if you look real close, I'm going to separate those two little pieces, those two little loops, and one's going to go on the left and one's going to go on the right. That top one up there with the single one that we just put in the hood does not have that. That's a single piece by itself. So that's the only one, and that's the way that you can tell the way that that goes in. I'm telling you from experience. So after you go ahead and push all those things through the given slots, go ahead and seal down that piece at the bottom. It's just a little flap that you've already perforated. It's over the wheel. That's the front of the car. That little half circle is where the tires will go, where the hubcaps will go, rims. But go ahead and seal that closed, and then once you're done with that, you'll see put some glue on those little extra loops to secure that piece that we just put in. So just go ahead and watch. You'll see. So at this point, you want to go ahead and split open those little tabs and add your glue, whatever you're using, wet adhesive, hot glue, on to secure those down. So you want to kind of butterfly them open, so one will go on the left and one will go on the right. And you want to do that for all of the double tabs. You want to go ahead and grab these 3 pieces. That's one large piece that has 2 perforated marks and 2 rectangular pieces that have 1, and they're going to go on the top of the hood. I cut mine out in the glitter cardstock to add some distinction, so you can leave yours either way, but you want to go ahead and find the center and glue those down. Now we're going to be working on this grill, so you want to grab these cute little pieces that look like tops of teddy bears to me. And there's 2 pieces. You want to go ahead and glue 2 of those together. This is to add sturdiness to the front. And then we have the little light bulbs, the lights that go on the top. You want to layer those. There's like a small, medium, and a large. Alright, now it's time to get the fender, and that's this. It's a wonky little piece, has a couple of teeth on one end, and you want to just roll that around, follow the perforation marks, and it kind of tucks under itself. So you fold it over and it kind of curves around. This is going to be the front end of your fender. Is the fender or the bumper? Whichever one's in the front. So that's going to be, yeah, it's going to stick out a little bit. So fold it over, pin it on itself. I end up using wet glue and a tinge of hot glue to kind of keep everything secure. Right, now you want to grab in your grill and the 2 little pieces. They're going to be supportive pieces, so I'm just going to attach these together with wet glue, and it kind of adds a little bit of separation between like the front of the car and the grill, so it makes it look a little bit more realistic. So after you attach those 2 together, you want to go ahead and stick the bumper slash fender inside that grill. There's little teeth in there, so make sure that's in there you know, evenly. And then I folded those down. I added a little glue to the back to make sure that they are secure. Now you want to go ahead and put the 2 together. So the little backing piece that's supportive, it's going to hide the little tabs that you just put in there, and you want to make sure it's nice and even and sturdy. I used wet glue for this, so it can just be flush as possible. And then now we're going to add that to our little headlight piece. Alright, I just added that whole section onto the headlight section. I did use hot glue. I made sure I was careful with my placement so it doesn't ooze out, and because it's heavier, it's a little layered, lots of layers, so I want to make sure that was nice and secure. Alright, so now it's time to gather these 2 pieces, and we're just going to fold over all of the perforated marks. Like I said, this file is pretty easy to put together. It's just basically following the directions, and so yeah, you want to fold over all the marks. As you see, this is like the cabin, the doors and the front of the car, the top. So that little piece on the side, there's a little perforated mark there that just attaches to the largest piece. So I'm going to use a little bit of wet glue to put this together, and we'll move forward. So you want to make sure you get all of the little crevices. There's this little triangle piece, and that really helps to fold over the top of the cabin. So make sure you grab that, hold that sturdy. If you're not getting it well with the wet glue, go ahead and pop a little bit of hot glue in there and just be neat about it where you put your nozzle. It's a little bit quicker, and it helps. It stays a little bit better. So get all the little nicks and crannies and put this whole thing together with all the perforated marks. Alright, now it's time to get the window frames together for the doors and the back window. And I cut out these pieces in copper, the copper colored glitter paper, and I'm going to lay it on top of some thin acetate. I'll put all the links down below for the items that I'm using in this video, but I just lay it there with a little wet glue because I don't want to smear it, and then I cut off the extra, and then I'm going to lay that on top of the door and window panel so it creates a bit of a distinction. Now we're just going to go ahead and apply the door to the cabin, or to the truck itself. So I wanted to make sure I use wet glue for that. Yeah, 'cause hot glue, it wouldn't work. It'll ooze. It'll be kind of rumply. So use your wet glue or either double-sided tape or ATG tape for this. Alright, so now you're going to get the two pieces that we've created so far, and you see that that hood goes into the cabin just like so with those little teeth. You want to bend over or bend in the last part that those pieces don't have a slot to slide into. They're going to go flush against the truck there. So you want to slide your teeth in and add some glue to the sides to make that flush. I had to use my X-Acto knife to open up the teeth a little bit. So do that if your cutter didn't cut them all clearly. So go ahead, as you can see, I'm pushing this in there, trying to be careful. That's why I don't bend those back, and that fits perfectly in there. I am going to go on the inside and push those little tabs down and apply hot glue, which you'll see later, to make sure that that's pretty sturdy. It's going to be covered up with another panel anyway, so no one will see it, and I want to make sure that it doesn't fall off and that it kind of stays in its position. So once you're done manipulating those teeth into those little holes, then add your glues to the side, and that part will be complete. So go ahead and watch this out. Alright, so here I am. I'm attaching those little flaps that we just pushed in there with the hot glue. I'm using my little pick. This is a multi-service tool, honey. It scores, it takes tape off, it holds the hot glue down so I don't burn myself. So anyway, yeah, I'm just adding a little bit of the hot glue in there. And again, this panel will be covered with a piece of cardstock, so you don't have to worry about being as neat, but you still want to try to make it as flush as possible. That's why I'm only adding small amounts of dabs, and then I'm trying to press it out as best I can. You also want to split open those tabs that are there on the inside as best you can, and apply glue to either side of that. And I am doing that with hot glue as well. See how that tool works? It just split and turn. It's an exceptional tool. Now this wasn't in the directions, but that little flap that's connecting the two together, I decided to adhere that together with some white glue, some wet glue. It doesn't hurt, and it just adds a little bit more security. So now this is the sheet that I was talking about, covers that little mess back there, and you just want to apply it. I used hot glue to make sure that it stays on there nice and good. I don't have to hold it in, it'll be awkward. Hot glue, put it in there, and you're done. So that's in there nice and neat. Now it's time to close this cabin down. So there's some perforated marks that fold in the side flaps. I added a little bit of hot glue, and I'm just going to close that down, and then we're done with the inside of that. Now it's time to put the roof on. So you want to grab that piece. I didn't see an offset piece, but so what I did was just trace around that pattern onto the glitter cardstock, and then cut it like a 1/4 inch shorter around. It was a really easy piece to to trace, like a half oval, you know, half oval square, rounded square, what have you. So you want to take this little piece that was out there earlier. That's the top of the roof, and those are perforated marks. You just fold it up kind of like the bottom of a box, and you will just set it evenly center on top of the truck. Now it's time to get these little pieces. These go over the tire well. So there's a little mark on there that shows what's the front. I believe is an X or a T or something, and that goes for the front of the car, the front of the truck, and then the other two obviously is for the rear. So you want to make sure also the little offset pieces match the side. You know, one side is little, one side is kind of fat. You want to make sure you don't mix the two up together. Just really easy. Just lay them on top so you know what you're doing. Fold over one side of those perforated marks. Remember, the left side there are the teeth that go into the car, so I don't fold those over at all. I don't want to make them weak, so I just leave them how they are, and this folds over quite simply. Using your wet glue, that little curved part curves around the little teeth, the little ends there. So really, really easy. So I flip it over and make sure that those edges are attached securely, and then we're going to add the little copper piece to the top. So once you're done with this one, obviously you want to go ahead and fill the rest of them out. So might as well do them all at the same time. So do the same thing for all four parts. So it's time to go ahead and apply this to the truck, and I'm cleaning up the teeth openings again with my X-Acto knife, and see how easy these fit in there. The two sides on the end they don't have a slot again, so you're just going to fold those over, and those are going to be flush against the truck. So once you put the teeth in, add a little glue to that bottom on the left and the right there, and attach it to the side of the truck. Really easy. I did go in again and try to get underneath that wheel, going through the bottom with some hot glue to try to hold those things down. So if you can reach in there and get it done, it adds extra little stability. That would be great, or use wet glue or what have you. So I want to make sure that those didn't shift at all. So now I want to go ahead and grab this piece out. This is our bed, our trunk bed. So there's a lot of perforated lines on all the pieces there, and that little dot right there indicates that direction of the trunk, the front or the back. So you want to make sure you pay attention to that, and I believe that dot is facing the front of the truck. So you want to fold over all the perforated lines as shown, and we're going to fold this up like a box. So you want to go ahead and fold over the top pieces. They're not flush against the side of the truck. They have like a little maybe 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch gap. There's 3 little rectangles there. The bottom rectangle, you just want to add some glue and adhere it to the side walls of the truck, and it'll fold over neatly and make a nice little edge for the bed. So you want to go ahead and repeat that same process for the ends. Now those are flat. Those don't have the perforated marks like the side ones. Those are completely flush against the side of the bed. Now you can go ahead and add the rear wheels, the hubcaps or the covers, like we did the front two. So now you can go ahead and add these two the exact same way. Again, with my X-Acto knife, opening up those little slits, attach those rim things in there, just like so, and make them go flush on the inside of the bed. So you want to go ahead and attach your cover pieces to that just like you did in the front. So be careful to match them up the way they need to go so that you don't end up with some odd shaping pieces on the top. Go ahead and pull these two pieces out and attach those to the back as well. You can't help but to get it correctly, because if you put it on the other side, it'll be too long, it'll stick out. So just go ahead and mash them on top. I use hot glue for the both. Alright, so now we're going to do some cute little decorations here. We're going to start out with the license plates, and all that stuff goes to the bed of the truck and to cover the walls of the inside of the truck. So this license plate has two components. This is the top part. You can put like a little sticker in there, print off your name or whatever, and put it on the back. It's a cute little addition. So when you put it on your bed, make sure that you have the right direction, because the little dot that we were talking about earlier that cut out, that goes in the front of, it's going to face the doors. So you want to make sure you put your license plates on the back, and I'm going to do that with a little bit of wet glue. And for the rest of this, pretty self-explanatory. You want to start out with the shorter pieces. They go on the shorter side, and then the longer pieces, the rectangular pieces, go to cover the long, and then the bottom there, the bed of the truck, I just use wet glue, and I put it at the bottom. Alright, it's time to grab these little pieces. Now I do mess up on this part, so pay attention closely, and then you'll see I changed it later, but I'll talk you through what I'm talking about. So these are where the wheels, the tie rod kind of goes through. So you want to fold them all up according to the perforated parts on the paper, the file, and then we're going to make this into a box. So as you can see, I just want to fold up the left and right side on the long sides. Just fold those up. There's some flaps at the top. Leave those there. You'll fit that in a hole later. So we're just closing up the sides here on both of those shaped pieces. Alright, so both of those are done. You want to go ahead and grab this piece that looks like this. So that's where that little box, those little flaps come in handy, because we're going to stick that box down in that hole and then attach the little flaps to this piece. So once you slide that in, you want to make sure when you're applying your adhesive that you kind of get it as flush as possible, and so that there will be something covering it, but you don't want it to be crumply. So you want to put this box in there, and you want to put the other box in there as well. So the boxes are all complete, they're inserted. So you want to grab these other two little shaped pieces and fold those up. Now this is where I make the mistake in attaching them to that platform, and I'll show you when I get there, but this part is correct. Go ahead, fold those all over, follow the perforated marks, just like you see. It's going to be like a little box as well, box with no lid as well. Alright, this is where we mess up, and I say we because you and I are in this together. That piece does fit there, but I just want to flip it around. So turn it counterclockwise so that it actually almost touches the little box that we put in there previously. So when I slide the wheels in, which you'll see later, it doesn't fit. So I took it apart and redid it, but you want to make sure that you do it right the first time and flip it around so that it is closer to the box we just put in those little slots. So you will see. So this outer layer here fits directly on top of that, and if you're not going to do what I'm doing, then yeah, go ahead and apply that down. But I wanted to go a step further, and this is not in the directions, and add some lightweight chipboard to it. So I laid that top piece on top of some lightweight chipboard. This is actually from like a legal pad, and cut all around it. I adhered it with wet glue, then I applied it to the back of the piece that we just created. So once that's done, it's time to work on the little axle rods. So you're going to take your little wooden dowel. Now you don't have to use the dowel. If you're putting some heavier stuff in the truck, then you might want to go ahead and use the wooden dowel for support. These are going to connect the two tires together. So there's a perforated little rectangle. You just want to kind of mold that. You can use a paint stick or what have you to kind of mold that into the circle. And all you're going to do is wrap that wooden dowel around that with some wet glue. And you want to do that to both of those dowels, and then just go over them a few times in your hand and make sure that that paper is attached securely to that wooden dowel. So now it's time to work on the tires. The tires were the most time consuming, obviously, because there's 4 tires, and the tires are set up like a box, like a hat box. So there's a top and a bottom. And if you can see at the very top, in the middle, there's the bottom half all have like a star shape, or the top half, whichever one. And then the opposite have a hexagon shape. So you just want to grab one with the star shape in the middle, one with the hexagon shape in the middle, and that makes a set of tires, and that's what the rod is going to go through. It's super simple. You can see everything's all perforated and scored out. So really all you have to do is fold it over and attach it to the circular base. So it's easy. I know you can see it's self-explanatory, and I recorded all of the tires, but I'm just going to show you, the one set when it gets done. So I used wet glue for this, and I individually, folded them over just like that, and then you fold the bottom half, kind of curl it around, and attach it to the circle. And I use wet glue because it's less messy, and then I can hold it in place. I can't explain it any more than it's super easy. Trust me, once you get it, you're gonna be like, oh, you just fold it over. So if you can imagine how you put a circular box or a hat box together, that's how you put these tires together. Alright, so I have one of each. One is the little star. You just push your paint stick through to make sure that goes, through. And then there's this little rectangular piece shape, sort of, and it's already perforated. You just have to fold over the edges. That's going to make like a box. And you're going to attach it. There's a little flap at the top. You're going to attach that together. It's going to make a box, and that's kind of to hold the rod and make everything kind of stable on the inside of the box. So that's how that looks. See how that's kind of shaped? And then you get these 4 little squares with the, is it octagon or hexagon in the middle. You just line them up, and it's just layered just for durability. So you want to make sure you match them all correctly, because the rod is going to go through this. And you'll see how it all puts together in the end. So yeah, you just glue those all together, and then you're good to go. So you want to go ahead and add some adhesive to that bottom, and you want to line it up to the side where the hexagon is. Remember, the other side has that star shape and one side has this hexagon shape. Line that up, and then put the box on top of that, over that, and make sure you add your glue to that, and then try to center that as evenly as you can. And then the other piece over there, the little well, the rod, I'm just testing to make sure that is going to go through smoothly, but then that little top half of the box is just going to sit right on top of that. So once you get it fit in there just how you want it, you make sure that it fits, go ahead and add some glue to the other side of that little strip there and add the top half of your box. Don't worry about this glue. That's what I use at first to get these tires together. I'm going to run my heat tool over the top and get all of those extra glue pieces away. That's why I suggested using the wet glue when you're putting this together. So once you get that together, that's secure. Make sure that that rod fits through there. And voila, do the same thing to the other side or the other 3 tires. Right, once you're done with all the tires, there's this solid circle that's going to cover up the rod hole. Once you do that, I added hot glue to the center of that tire. Then I stuck the rod in, and that was that. It's pretty much very self-explanatory. Put that on top. It hides the rod from peeking through the other side. I don't think she added hot glue in hers, but I'm a hot glue fan and it doesn't hurt. So that's what I'm doing. I added some hot glue right in the center, just like a dollop, and then I put the rod in and closed it up with the solid circle. Now remember in the beginning, I told you guys that I had the thing turned around the wrong way, and I showed you the right way to do it earlier, but this is me looking at it like, doggone it, I put that little box opposite side, so I had to, this is literally the moment, like, god dang it, I put the box on the wrong side. So now this is me taking the box off and flipping it. You see how they are supposed to be close together, like touching almost, and if you look at the top half of the screen, I have it flipped the wrong way, so they're opposite. So just make sure if you listen to the beginning part, you flipped it the correct way. And with the magic of YouTube vision, I got it all together, and now this is how it's supposed to be, and this is me putting the rod through. Voila, ta-da! It's done. So I'm going to add the other tire to the other side, add a little hot glue to the tip and in the dollop inside the wheel, and then go ahead and attach those 2 together. And voila, it's done. It rolls. It is so cute. Now it's time to put everything together. So this is the front of our truck already completed, and you just want to put it on top of the base. So this front little piece, that's where the fender and the bumper go. You'll see it. You can't put it anywhere else. You can't put it backwards. So you'll fit it. It'll feel right. So you want to go ahead and place that. I like to place my parts on there first so I can make sure everything is lined up, everything will fit before I start attaching some hot glue, honey, because once you start playing with that hot glue and it gets messy, it looks ugly. So just try to do a pre-fit first. So nothing is adhered down just yet. I went ahead and got these little side rails, and they already come with a file, and then I just didn't know where they were going. Like, where does this go? But it goes on the side, and I might have it upside down, but I liked it that way. So I went and attached that to both left and right side. It's kind of like the footstep thing, but it makes it look like a low rider truck. So I went ahead and kept that on there. So these little strips I cut out in the copper color to kind of put them at the top. They're just decorative strips. They go on top of that footboard, that faux, I'm doing the fingers, the faux footboard that I put up there. So yeah, just go ahead and attach that onto the truck. Alright, so now we're at the bed of the truck. I'm applying some double-sided sticky tape for the immediate adhesion of the bed of the truck, and then I'm applying wet glue for the long term of it all. It's going to attach underneath the window and then at the bottom. So I'm using the hot glue for the bottom, and I'm just making sure this is a one-time deal. You go ahead and you push that on there and it's done. So make sure you hitting all the points. You hitting the back up underneath the window and the bottom where the hot glue is. So my primary concern was to make sure that back got stuck, because if that gets dry and there's a space in between, it doesn't look right. The hot glue will be okay. So it's pretty quick. So make sure that's rubbed in there really well. Now it's time to put our front end on, and that piece is already been put together. It literally just sits on top of that extra little space right there in the front. Come on, put my bumper on, baby. Although that's not a bumper, it's the front fender, I believe. So yeah, just adhere that to the front of your vehicle. Look how cute this truck is. It is so stinking cute and clean and crisp. So once you take your time and get this done right, you can do it. It'll look really, really nice. I'm in a singing mood. So it's not finished yet because we don't have any rims, but I just want to kind of give you an overview of where you should be right now. Everything is clean, it's crisp, it's put together, nothing is sagging, it's good to go. So push that over and let's get our rims together. So there's some circles, there's some large circles, some medium circles, and some small circles in your file. Go ahead and adhere. See me, I didn't flop that on there a little too fast, but the white circle, or I cut the white circle out, which is the largest, and then I cut the medium circle, which I cut in mint, and put that right center there. And then I ended up adding a piece of copper bling to match the paper, kind of to give it like a little rim look. So yeah, you want to do that to all the tires all the way around. So done. They are done. Doesn't that look adorable? I just absolutely love it, y'all. Let's give it one more go around. Top, bottom, front, back, side. Super cute. Make sure everything is cleaned off. But now I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of measurements, because I did downsize or upsize. I did resize the file. So this measures about 10¼ inches long, and then 5 inches wide, I guess. So that's me telling you. It's 10 inches long. What is that? 4 3/4 inches across the back, in case you want to do yours the same width. And then as far as how tall it is from the bottom, it's about 5 1/4. So that's that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. You can downsize it, upsize it, and create, you know, I maxed it out. That's what I did. I maxed it out to fit a 12 by 12. Here's the original, child. That I needed to cut it out to make sure that I had what I needed to have, and I didn't want it. It was a little bit bigger. Plus, I use hot glue. That's why I don't suggest using hot glue. So that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you visual learners will be able to cut this out and put it together with no problem. Like I said, I read everything 2 and 3 times over on the blog, and I was like, okay, that's why I cut out the dummy truck first, so I can make sure I get it right. And then voila, we have a tutorial. I want to see these trucks. So if you make these trucks, please tag me on Instagram. You can find me at scrapdaworld. There'll be a link down below in the description box, or Facebook, or what have you, email. I want to see your creations. All right, guys, I will talk to you next time. Like, share this video, and I will see you soon. Bye.